Okay, so episode number 2, season 3 of Brockmire in the books, as they say. And last week, after I previewed episode 1, actually it was yesterday. Previewed it about a week late, but hey, I got it in before episode 2 tonight. And the way I did it was the old thumbs up, thumbs down, but I was kind of in the middle. I was like, didn't have the heart to go thumbs down, but I started going there. So I was like 51-49 negative against positive as my review on last week's episode. But it did succeed in doing one big thing, and that was teased me perfectly for episode 2 tonight. It left me hanging. And I was weighted with bated breath. Actually, it's more like coffee breath. I know I shouldn't be drinking it that late, but I've got to get fired up for Brockmire and the review. I'm Matt Levine. Thank you for joining me here on my YouTube channel. I'm looking for subscribers. You damn right I am. So please do go ahead and subscribe. Also, check out 954sports.com. Let's talk all about Brockmire. So here's what I liked about tonight's episode. Several things. I'll get right to it. First off, Amanda Peet back and better than ever. I mentioned before, she's a great actress. Talented. So Brockmire's love interest, this great relationship, and this romantic relationship built on sex, drugs, and rock and roll, or maybe like sex, drugs, and baseball. Back into the fold with the sober Brockmire, or as he says, the new versus old Jim. A little bit of a Brockmire to bust out. I might work on that as the show goes on here, or as I give you my episode recap is more like it. A couple other things I wanted to mention. I wrote down the names of a few actors that I touched on in my episode 1 recap. This young man has a future as a thespian. And his name is Charles in the show. Plays the character Charles in real life. His name is Tyrell Jackson Williams, a great budding young actor. He did not appear in episode 2, season 3, but you know he's going to play a role. He's coming. He's too good to leave out. And he's just played this perfect sidekick to Brockmire. He's more of the adult who's mentoring Brockmire through life instead of the other way around. Another guy who made his debut last week in episode 1 is this guy here in the middle in the overalls. He's one of those actors that you're like, yeah, he's in everything, but you don't know what. And that's exactly where I found myself when I looked up his name. Richard Kind. A great actor. The woman to his left in the blue outfit, she plays Gabby Taylor. That's the color commentator for Brockmire here in season 3. She debuted in episode 1 last week. Her name in real life is Tammy Newsome, and she's been really good. She came into her own here in episode 2. She admits that she's a lesbian. In fact, Brockmire had one of his great one-liners tonight, a throwback to seasons 1 and 2, where he talked about how he had always had a good standing with the lesbian community. And one of his lines was that he and Melissa Etheridge, they were tight, and they came up with their own strain of weed called the OG Bush. I thought that was great. A couple other things I liked, in addition to getting these actors involved, I showed you the picture of and mentioned their names, mentioned Amanda Peet. She comes in with a bombshell tonight. Okay? Now, Brockmire has mentioned in seasons 1 and 2 and seasons past that he has really just one friend. One friend. The guy is known for the Time Par incident, and more so than that, just a Hall of Fame baseball player. None other than George Brett. That was the bombshell. His one and only friend. He and Amanda Peet, Jules' character, they became friends, consoling each other over Brockmire hitting rock bottom in season 2. And how it goes now is that he's going to move Brett to Pennsylvania to be with Amanda Peet. And this relationship is bustling. And Amanda Peet, Jules, I should say, breaks the news to Brockmire as they meet up in Tampa. She's there to pitch the Tampa Baseball Club, giving her a shot to be a major league's public relations guru. She convinces him that she can bring in a record crowd to one of the spring training games. She gets her shot. Before that happens, just so happens to be the game that Brockmire is calling for the Oakland team. He's trying to get back into the big leagues and doing play-by-play for indefinitely, as the Oakland announcer, actor J.K. Simmons, who I mentioned last week, is out on leave battling cancer. So they meet up for lunch. Classic scene, classic Jules, right in front of Brockmire. She downs a pint of Chardonnay on the rocks, then breaks it to him that she and George Brett are an item. Brockmire holds his cool and dumps his second great one-liner of the day, where again he prefaces it by where is it here? Prefaces it by old Jim would have irrationally and emotionally fallen apart and reached for the bottle and gone back to the demons, but new Jim is a different guy. The old Jim would go catch that gonorrhea. What do you say? I messed it up. The old Jim would go catch that super gonorrhea with both hands, as he said. So there's a couple of great liners. The actor is fabulous. The storyline was great. The romance came back into the scene. Some other things I liked, as I'll get to the back end of the episode. Bob Costas. Awesome. Love Costas. Love him in real life. Loved him tonight in Brockmire. Couple of things, okay, that I learned in tonight's episode, and a couple of things I Googled. First off, Brockmire drops a bombshell on Costas that he was responsible. He ambushed him during the Olympics and cost his pink eye as part of a practical joke with Joe Buck. And Costas, you can see that's his facial reaction there, reacts to it and just can't believe it. And he says to Brockmire that with all the great things I did in my career, calling Super Bowls, World Series, winning Emmys, NBA Finals, this, that, and the other thing, of course the Olympics, if you Google him, what comes up immediately? Costas and I. Or he says Costas and pink eye. I Googled it. What came up immediately? Costas I. So it's true. Pretty interesting. Also, a couple reference points in tonight's show. As Amanda Peet brings up to Jim Brockmire 2 times in reference to her relationship with George Brett, she says, do you know Lord? Name the song Royal. Or Royals, the big hit song that is just on all the time. I heard it 2 days ago in the store, in the deli down the road. Or three days ago, on Saturday. It was Saturday afternoon. Anyway, that song, which had some controversy over what the meaning was, whether it was social classes or not, she's been quoted, Lord, as saying it's simply because she had picked up a National Geographic magazine at one time. They did a story about the Royals. George Brett was in the picture of the story, signing baseballs with a Royals shirt on, T-shirt, and she liked the word. She called herself, in the article, a word fetishist. Okay, so I Googled 2 things and learned about a couple things in tonight's episode, which I just thought was great. Meanwhile, what I liked about this tonight was that Jules pulls off her silly PR stunt. I didn't really like that. I'm not going to get into that too much, where the PR stunt was setting up for the Tampa baseball team a virtual game that you can play on your phone that simulates with character-generated characters the baseball game as it's going on. So the fans are intuitively in a trance with their phone playing the game as the real game goes on, and it was a big hit and blah, blah, blah. They had an interactive virtual experience at the game with the real-life baseball game. Everyone loves the nostalgia, blah, blah, blah. She was a hit. Didn't like that part, but I did like the end of the game when they're the last 2 people left in the stadium, Brockmire and Amanda Peet. She rehashes the fact that she's with George Brett, and old Jim versus new Jim. Well, old Jim wins out this time. He goes to the bathroom and he explodes in a Brockmiring way. That's just perfect. It captures the essence of Jim Brockmire. So I thought tonight's show was great. I really did. I love how they brought in the George Brett character into the mix. Amanda Peet was back. Excuse me. I love the actors I mentioned that were prominent in tonight's show, with Richard Kind and the other one, Tawny Newsome, who plays Gabby Taylor. They were both great. Costas, what else can I say? You saw a little bit more of Brockmire and his true personality come out tonight, but I also liked, and I was against this last week, I liked the drunken, drugged Brockmire a lot better than the sober one. But tonight I'm kind of rooting for the sober one because he didn't fall off the wagon. So with that said, what did tonight's show make me want to do? Stay tuned for next week. It worked. It was that good. I look forward to episode 3. So tonight, again, full thumbs up for Brockmire, season 3, episode 2. I thought it was awesome. I look forward to next Wednesday.